ET Now exclusive then, and on the sidelines of ET Now's leadership dialogues, Ankur Mishra, my colleague, caught up with Bandhan Bank CFO Rajeev Mantri, who talks about the hunt for the next CEO of the bank, growth targets, and of course, the health of their loan book as well.
The last quarter, there was liquidity sort of challenges in the market. Despite that, the bank has been able to grow the deposits fairly well. I mean, we ended the year at about 1,35,000 crores of deposits, which recorded almost a 25% growth year on year. And within that, I think the quality of the deposits also was pretty good, with almost 37% being current accounts and savings account, and retail and CASA being almost 70%, right? If we look at it, the sort of deposit profile of the bank is fairly granular and detailed and retail. And over the last 4 to 5 years, we've seen stickiness of the deposits really continuing and maintaining, right? And I think that's the testimony that it's not just about the deposit growth. It's really also about the quality of the deposits and how exactly the bank is able to make sure that it provides the right services, the right kind of conveniences to the customers, so that the deposit customers continue to place their trust and the faith with the bank. And I think the push in this regard is going to continue. We are actively looking at how do we, continuously further improve our value proposition that we give to our clients. So, for instance, we are looking at how do we improve our savings account proposition even further by reaching out to the right customers with the right kind of proposition. We are also looking at how do we re-energize some of our branches so that the branches become really conducive for people to come in and place their deposits with us, as well as try and come up with capabilities which can actually foster further current accounts, right? So it's like an overall targeted strategy that we have to continue doing the good work that we've done in the past, but making sure that the deposit drive continues, right? And like we are saying in our strategy, liability first approach, which means that the advances will need to continue, but we need to continue to grow our liabilities even faster, which is the deposits primarily.
Right. Let's talk about few of the overhangs which investors had. One of them had been the provisioning which you have made last time. Now we want to understand that, is it all provided now? Is there something which is kind of a surprise which is coming for investors in next few quarters?
So I think like we had mentioned in our investor call immediately after the results announcement, we had gone through our sort of policies that we have in the bank in terms of looking at what is the portfolio that is eligible for a technical write-off. And I think that's the kind of work that we've done in terms of making sure that we take a hard look at that particular pool portfolio. So that has helped us in terms of reducing our NPA portfolio from almost 8,700 crores down to about 4,700 crores, right? So we've taken that particular cleanup exercise in the month of March. Having said which, so I think that takes care of a large part of the book that was, prior to the year FY 2022 and earlier, and I think has brought our gross NPA levels down to almost 3.8%, right? We still have, I think, further journey to climb on that particular front. What is heartening to see is our slippage rates are really coming off, and I think if you look at the FY 23-24, the first 3 quarters, our quarterly slippages was in the region of 1,300 crores. And the last quarter, we saw it coming down to almost 1,000 crores, right? So I think with that in tow, we do expect, I think the portfolio quality should continuously improve. And then maybe a small portion of the portfolio that we have to take a harder look in terms of recovery or any further action that we need to do.
So what should investors expect in next few quarters? Will there be more surprises or any shocks which are left? I'm asking you because there was overhang of credit guarantee fund where NCTGC was conducting the exercise. Is that audit complete?
So I think the audit that the NCGTC, which is the National Credit Guarantee Trust Corporation, had started is in progress. I think we have provided the required information and the explanations to them. So they are in progress to make sure that the audit gets completed. We have requested them to see how that can be expedited. We have provided, of course, all the information. So we will, of course, see what the outcome of the audit comes out to be. From our perspective, of course, that's a key area of focus to make sure that we progress on that. I don't think, that we will be looking for some major surprises and stuff like that. I think that's clearly not the endeavor. From our perspective, as I mentioned, we've taken a harder look at the book and cleaned up a large portion of the NPA in the March quarter itself. We will be looking to make sure that we continue on our strategic path. We have devised a full 3-year plan and 3-year strategy. It is pretty much grounded, and we've done a bottoms up in terms of looking at every business, what kind of growth it can have. And we are relentlessly focusing on making sure that our strategy is executed in the right fashion, which basically includes growing the areas that we want to grow in. We are actually looking at expanding our secured book even further or faster than the unsecured book, and want to make sure that we continue on that path. And of course, all the targets that we set for ourselves in terms of revenue, expenses, etc., we want to make sure that those continue. So I think that's the focus in terms of making sure that we continue on that particular path. And we will of course have to keep watching any externalities, etc., that happen, which is beyond anyone's control. But I think the bank has developed very good resilience, right? The bank has taken a harder look in terms of bringing the balance sheet in terms of the NPA levels down. So I think where we stand, we see that the bank is sufficiently well capitalized. We have good liquidity standing. Our NPAs are brought under control to a large extent, and we're seeing a very good trend. And our profitability was not bad, right? We had 2,200 crores of profitability, which of course, because of the technical write-off was reduced, but otherwise normalized basis was even higher. So we want to make sure that that path continues, and that will be the focus in the coming quarters as well.
Ever since Mr. Ghosh has announced about not extending his tenure, and there were a few questions that who will be the next MD and CEO of Bandhan Bank. I want to ask you, on which stage we are? Are you still finalizing the names? Has the names been already sent to regulator, or you're waiting for the approval?
So look, this is a process which is being managed by the board, working very, very closely in terms of what should be the right process to be followed in terms of looking for the right person. So I think that process is being managed. At this stage, it's something which board only manages in terms of where exactly we are at. I think they're actively making sure that they follow the right process and the steps. And in due course, I think the right names will be provided right to the RBI. Our current MD and CEO, Mr. Ghosh, I think his sort of tenure coming end on the 9th of July, as he's announced his retirement. So we are making sure, in terms of giving him proper farewell and ensuring that, the right sort of transition plan is actually being created. So this thing is actively managed by the board, and they're making sure that, the process gets followed. So we will definitely get to hear in terms of how exactly that moves forward.
What we have seen is that the bank was actively preparing for this kind of transition with the kind of hiring you have already done. So what is where do we lie in terms of giving the handover? Is it already being given? The team is ready? The plan is ready?
So I think you're rightly, as you rightly said, the management team is largely in place. So we have two executive directors. Ratan, who is the Chief Operating Officer in ED, he joined almost a year ago. And then Rajendra Babbar, who is our Chief Business Officer and Executive Director, he joined in March. So both of them are there in terms of, ensuring that their respective areas are taken care of. I joined in February, and then we have a number of other management sort of positions also being filled. So at this stage, the management team is largely in place, and they are making sure that whatever strategy that the bank has created is being executed in the right fashion. I think our MD and CEO has great trust in terms of how the team has shaped up, as well as how exactly it's taking its step forward in terms of making sure that the business gets managed well. So I think we are fairly confident overall as a management team in terms of how do we take it forward.
Right. So is it going to be an internal candidate or external candidate, or bank is open for both?
Well, I really don't know how to answer that. I think the due process is being followed, and of course we'll come to know how that
My last question to you will be regarding the vision and the planning of the bank next 3 to 5 years, which is our theme also, India at 2030. Where do you see Bandhan Bank in 2030?
I think we are clearly set for growth, right? As we said, we are a universal bank. We are working our way towards becoming a true universal bank in terms of making sure every aspect of the banking area that we are involved in grows further. So I think the bank will continue to grow. The bank will continue to grow in a healthy way, in a prosperous way. At the same time, making sure that we are available for our customers in the right areas. We are geographically also very well diversifying and diversified, and we will continue to diversify that further. We are present in all the states and union territories in India, and therefore that endeavor will continue. We are investing in our branches, as I mentioned, so I think we become a formidable sort of distribution network as well as branch network. So I think it will be a bank which will grow very well in a healthy way. And also we want to adopt a lot of digital way of enabling how our customer experience as well as how exactly we internally look at the processes. So I would say digitally assisted, enabled, and high in productivity and efficiency, and will continue to grow. That's the kind of vision that we have for the bank.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.